Okay, I think it's ready. All right, we are going to do the notes for Pythagorean Theorem now. Are you so excited? Okay, I'm ready. So, the first thing that you really need to know is that the Pythagorean Theorem is for right triangles. And so here's one right here. And just in case you forget the word hypotenuse, there's a little hypotenuse on the picture. Hopefully that will help you remember. The hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. And the other two sides are called legs. And you can see the little letters on the side, but generally speaking, or by generally, I mean all the time, the hypotenuse is usually C, the letter C. The legs can be A or B, it doesn't matter which is which. And the other super important thing is that the Pythagorean theorem is for sides only. It tells you literally nothing about angles except for what kind of triangle it is, whether it's a right triangle or another kind of triangle. So that's why it says sides only. So if you see a problem and it involves angles, it is not the Pythagorean theorem. So we can use it for two things. One is to tell if three sides are a right triangle. The other is to find missing sides. So if you want to use it to find which one is a right triangle, first we need to make sure these are triangles. Hopefully you remember the rule that the two smaller sides have to add up to be bigger than the third side. So 16 plus 30 is bigger than 46. So this is definitely a triangle. Now we have to check to see if it's a right triangle. So we're going to take the smaller two sides and square them. And we want to make sure that that's equal to the longest side squared. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 16 squared is 256 plus 900 equals 1156. And then add this together. So 1156 equals 1156. So yes, that's a right triangle. The next one, 12 plus 19 is greater than 23, so that's definitely a right or a regular triangle. Now to check if it's a right triangle, we're going to do 12 squared plus 19 squared and see if that is equal to 23 squared. Sorry about my throat. So 144 plus 361 equals 529. 144 plus 361 is 505. That is not equal to 529. So this is not a right triangle. All right, this would be a great time to pause the video and try the next two on your own. So go ahead and pause. I'm going to work them out without talking, and then you can check your answers with mine when you're done. All right, so now you should be watching those and done, and you should have gotten them right and been so excited. And that's it. So now we're going to talk about how you find a missing side. The hypotenuse is always the one across from the right angle. So if you were standing on the right angle looking into the distance, you would see the hypotenuse. I would get into the habit at first of highlighting it so you know which one is going to be C, because the X might be on C or it might be on another one. So the Pythagorean theorem says that a squared plus b squared, the legs, equals the hypotenuse squared. We can do 8 squared plus 13 squared, or 13 squared plus 8 squared, because addition is commutative, equals x squared. So that would be 64 plus 169 equals x squared. So 233 equals x squared. Hopefully you remember from just the other day, and also from algebra, that in order to reverse a squared number, you take the square root. So the square root of 233 is 15.3. And also, hopefully you remember from algebra that when you take the square root of a number, you really get a positive and a negative answer. So we really have positive or negative 15.3. But since we're talking about a distance, we're just going to keep the positive number. So that's the length of the hypotenuse, the missing side. All right, let's look at the next one. We want to find the missing side of this triangle. The hypotenuse is across from the right angle, so that's going to be C. So the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 7 squared plus x squared equals 9 squared. Remember that this could also be x squared plus 7 squared equals 9 squared, because addition is commutative. So 49 plus x squared equals 81, and then solve. And to reverse a squared, you take the square root. Now, the answer is 5.7, and that is a decimal equivalent. But just to review from algebra, if you wanted to take the square root of 32 and put it in simplest radical form, you need to break the number down by prime factorization or by recognizing perfect squares that are part of it. I'm going to just do prime factorization right now. I'm circling all my primes as I go. If you have two of the same, and this is kind of the shortcut version instead of the memorizing version, you can pull those out to the outside. So the orange 2's come out as 1, the yellow 2's come out as 1, and that leftover 2 stays under the radical. So 2 times 2 is 4 root 2. And either answer is acceptable, and sometimes you may see it written like this, but you got that. And it's just important that you know that they are interchangeable. They're the same. You can see over here. All right. So those are the straightforward examples. Now we're going to go into the ones that are a little bit more high school geometry. So what kind of triangle is this? I hope your brain said isosceles. And you may remember from before that the height of an isosceles triangle bisects the base. It breaks it into 2 congruent pieces. And that doesn't actually say 11, that's the congruent marks, but half of 22 is 11. So that works out. Now the isosceles triangle itself is not a right triangle, but you do have 2 right triangles in there. The height is a perpendicular bisector. So if we kind of ignore the half that's not orange, we can set up an equation to figure out